Welcome to another episode of Questionable Personality. And today we have Chris, and Emily, and Haley. And what did we just do?
We made a movie.
Yeah.
We don't really know the title yet. We think we have a title. It could be Haunting of Jessie.
I'm pretty haunted.
Yeah.
It's a
Documentary.
True story. Just your wedding.
Yeah.
It's Haunting of Jessie Ross. Does that sound right?
Yeah, the taking of Jessie.
Okay.
Whatever.
We can throw a bunch of stuff together and see what's
What's the best?
Yeah, what's the best creepy title you come up with? So, what was your experience like?
It was fun. I had a great time. It was pretty fun. I had a good time.
Yeah. So we did 5 days. 5 days, no script.
No script. That was tough. It was tough.
Would you prefer to work off the script or just improvise?
I think having like a base of a script and then branching off of that would be nice, just because you have something to fall back to, and so you don't lose like the through line.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's always hard because I think when it comes to like improvisation, it's almost like the more you structure the improvisation, the more you just fall into that structure. You know what I mean? So like if you have like a script, with dialogue, it becomes really easy to just fall into that dialogue and not sort of like be able to, at least for me. But then in the same sense, if you don't have anything, you're trying to just improvise, you're sort of, you're becoming both the screenwriter and the actor at the same time, which is challenging.
Mm-hmm. And you just want to make sure that there's still structure. And like that's what's nice about a play or like a script. The arc versus trying to make sure you're following an arc in the moment. It's kind of...
Yeah, hitting all the points, make sure you're not missing anything.
Well, we have the scenes laid out. So.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's helpful, having an outline.
Yeah.
In terms of like what's happening, where things are going, that at least grounds you somewhere, within the telling of the story.
Yeah, and after you do the scene a couple times, you kind of just get into a rhythm of it anyway. So.
That's true. Yeah, you just find words, and all of a sudden you find yourself repeating the same dialogue.
Yeah. These words worked
without even thinking it. Yeah, and in that order, that worked, and you just keep sort of saying it that way without even thinking about it.
I mean, you had improv training, right? Did you?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you.
Yeah. To some degree, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting though, because they always think of improv more in the comedy realm. Mm-hmm. So kind of, making up just a regular text along the way is strangely, like, it feels weird at first because you're not trying to create something that is laughable in the moment. You're just trying to just create a through line.
Yeah. And
I think at first it feels strange, but then as you get used to it, it's just, it's just conversation. So it kind of develops along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But for this one, you also came the last day.
That's true.
So you missed the beginnings of it?
Yeah.
And you did the first and the last scene, or second, whatever.
Yeah.
So you saw the beginning and the end, but all the middle part.
Yeah, I didn't really know what was going on.
So was that strange?
Yeah, I mean, the beginning was fine because it's just the beginning of the movie. And then, like, as we were filming later in the day, I didn't know what had happened prior, so I had to ask a couple questions, figure out what the sequence of events was. But I mean, ultimately, like, as long as you know what's happening in that scene, that's what matters the most. Because the audience doesn't know what you don't know. So, yeah.
That's true. Well, questions are good. I don't mind questions.
Yeah.
But, I mean, a lot of the dialogue is really what you guys created. I just created the situation, but the stuff about escargot and that kind of stuff you threw in there, that was hilarious. It was hard for me not to laugh when you said that.
I don't even remember that.
So that's what my mom wants for the wedding. Yep.
For brunch to the west.
Yes. Yeah, brunch. A brunch wedding. That's what we were going to have. You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Oh my God. Shocking.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that we shot this 3 days?
It's
2
June.
days in June.
Yeah.
And 2 days now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a long
Which
time in
is-
between. Yeah.
I forget what month this is.
Who knows?
It's a
Anyway.
COVID month. I don't know.
Yeah.
October now, yeah.
So, I guess we're under the guidelines. 25 people less. Just
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
We had Nick.
And Nick for a couple of days.
Yeah. But yeah, we never had
Never
more
had more
than
than
4
4.
people on set at a
Yeah.
time.
And you guys lived together. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got my blood work done the other day. So.
And you're good.
Yeah. Oh, we were both tested too
A while
a
ago.
while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you live together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to be together anyway. So,
Exactly.
She
I'm going to get
doing-
it. He's going to
yeah.
get it. Yep.
so I guess we follow the guidelines somehow.
Yeah.
The only one in trouble is you now.
Yeah.
I don't go anywhere, so.
I probably have the most in the public working in the cafe. We have like 600
I'm
people.
too. Yeah. We have students or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're like one of like 3 people I've seen in the past.
Yeah. We've seen each other like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I have 4 friends, so I've seen them.
Wow,
it.
4.
That's
Yeah.
it.
That's all I need.
That's a lot.
Yep.
I used to have more.
I didn't know 4 is about it.
So how'd you feel about your stunts?
You guys did more stunts than I did, no?
Well, yeah. Until like towards the end, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess I threw myself around.
Yeah.
I wish we had the dolly the first
Well,
time.
that's why I get the idea.
Yeah.
After we couldn't get that,
It was hard to pull on the carpet.
Yeah.
use cardboard.
But we didn't do that many takes, so it wasn't too grueling. I hit my elbow a few times, but like it was fine.
Yeah.
And then you busted your shoulder.
Yeah, but
You
it's just a bad,
twinged it.
it's just a bad shoulder.
Yeah.
So it's just the way that I turned it, twinged it. But it's not like, you know, like dislocating my ankle
Yeah.
on a shoot and,
Yeah, you did
and then
that.
having to film, you know, 3
more
more days
days.
with a swollen ankle.
That's always
So
fun.
yeah,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
that was
Try to
was
keep
fun.
it safe.
Yeah.
It was fun. A little scary.
Getting ripped.
Yeah, the first time that really got me.
Well, now that you saw one shot.
Yeah. If that's the take that's used, like, just know that's genuine fear.
Yeah, the dolly worked well, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it till after we shot
Yeah.
those first things. I was like, oh, let's get one.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was nice. We just need to paint it like flesh colored.
Now I painted green screen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Dang
Yeah,
it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
We had 0 special effects.
Yeah.
No.
The wire work was really amazing in this film.
Can't see him at all.
Yeah, the whole budget's 0.
Yeah.
This is really a 0 budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wonder how much do you think? And
Well, whatever we spend on food,
on
that's
food, and
pretty
then
much.
the dolly was $15.
Yeah, that's about it. That's,
Wow.
yeah, everything else I have.
Straps.
So, I have that. Oh, not those.
So
Which is well, that's true. I was going to use the kayaking straps, but then like I saw it on Amazon, like really cheap for like whatever it was.
Might as well,
$10.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're crappy, but
Yeah.
Whatever.
for the movie, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, really, it was. It just had stuff.
Mhm.
And that's when we did the other podcast. It was like, hey, you guys want to do this?
Let's do it.
And then everything was shut down anyway, so you couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's making movies right now.
So I'm like, all right, just empty house. We can give a couple of days here and there.
It's perfect.
So, but how do you feel as an actor not knowing what the like when you do a play, it's happening in real time, and you hear the audience, and then you're making this, and it's all pieces.
I mean, I think it's easier doing film because you really only have to get it right once versus in theater, you got to do the whole thing for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And if you're off for one scene, you're off the whole show, and it's hard to get back on. You forget a line, and at the beginning of the show, you're down on yourself the rest of the entire show. At least I am. Like I stress about the whole.
Yeah, you
the
can't
whole
just
show.
like stop and start over in the middle of the
Yeah,
show. So.
and if it doesn't, and you just have no self-aware, which I think is good in theater. You're just focusing on the other person.
Mm-hmm.
But in film, you go back and see what you've missed, and you can like, oh, I've got to move my arm like that because it looks weird in the shot. I feel like it's just a little less stress.
Yeah.
Well, you have a second take.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think, the one advantage to theater is that because you're doing it right there in the moment and you have, a play that's going to run you the course of, that full hour and a half or 2 hours, or whatever, and you have a character that's going through that journey for that amount of time, that it's a little easier as an actor because you get to ride that. You get to ride the story, you get to ride that character development and that arc, and it really kind of carries you through from start to finish. Yeah, if something happens along the way, and that can, affect sort of your state of being in that moment. But I don't know, film, when it's all sort of chopped up, the muscles you have to use are slightly different. You have to, it's like theater takes a lot of endurance, but like film takes a lot of dexterity, sort of very similar, but they're kind of different, I personally, I never feel good. Like when we get done shooting, I'm like, well, that was crap. Like I never feel good about anything that I do on a film set.
Yep.
Like ever. And that's in you, but you just keep, like, there's a lot of trust in the filmmakers and the editors that they'll find something of value in all of the crap I just did and be able to use it and put it together. So there's a lot of trust in film. You have to have a lot more trust. In theater, you're sort of a little more in control. It is the actor's medium, really, theater, but film is the editor's medium. So you just hope you did enough of something, gave a little bit of something good so that they can pull out of all the crap you just did. But yeah, I never feel good. I always, at the end of a scene, I'm like, I don't know if I did what I just did. That was total shit. I don't know, whatever. That's just me though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the most part, we didn't shoot in sequence, but a lot of it sort of did.
Yeah, a good portion of it was in sequence. Yeah, and that always helps. Yeah, when you film in sequence, it's easier to track, your previous circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Where you're coming from, what you were doing, what brought you here, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and when you shoot out of sequence, it just takes a little more dexterity to
figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
But you probably have no idea what end product of that scene is going to be because you know what the focus is going to be.
Yeah, you have no idea. You did 4 or 5 takes of the scene. You have no idea which is going to be used, or if only parts of that are going to be used, or so it is very, it is a lot of trust that the actor just sort of.
And it's from so many different angles too. Like you just don't know what elements are going to be used. Yeah. And it's kind of like let's see what happens when it's over.
Yeah. Yes. I'm curious. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, can't wait to see the final product because you never know.
It's like, wait a second, this guy wasn't even in the movie.
Yeah.
So for you coming in off one day doing one scene and one scene that was at the end. What impression did you get? What do you think this is?
Well, at first I really didn't know because, I knew the basics of, who I was and who they were. And then I knew what was going to happen to me in that first scene. And then after that, I still don't really know the whole plot. So I'm excited to see what happens. Because what I do in the end doesn't really, the plot doesn't affect that necessarily. What I was doing, I didn't really need to know the entirety of the plot to continue my track. But it's interesting because you don't think about the things that you need to know ahead of time, and then right before you start, you're like, wait a minute, there are things I don't know that I should know.
Right. It's going to inform.
I'm like, I need to think for a minute. but yeah, so I think the beginning was a lot simpler, especially because for a good chunk of it just me mostly. And that, so like all of those takes that we were doing was kind of the same bit. And so then the end, when it was involving all of us, then that was kind of where I had more questions. But yeah, definitely interesting coming in. It's kind of like, it's actually like when we did Dracula, and I was there for the first week rehearsing
the first act.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was gone because I died, and Act 2 rehearsed. And then I came back, I'm like, all right, so what's going on? What happened while I was done?
Yeah.
Like, never seen it done before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's like a second half to this play. So my assumption is that it's going to kind of feel the same watching it back.
Was there anything surprising for you? Or?
The straps. I don't know why I thought they were just going to be like rope. I get it. I didn't understand I thought he was like in trouble, but it's like, oh, it's that kind of setup. Yeah.
Sexy straps.
Yeah. That surprised me.
Could use rope, but no one really knew how to tie good knots. So.
Yeah.
Plus, it would take too long.
Yeah.
I was never getting out of that.
Well, yeah, those kind of like, I know like some boating knots, but you're not going to get out of those.
Yeah.
So.
Because every time you have to take them on and off, it takes like hours.
Well, yeah, the whole point is that they don't come apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't want them to. That'd just be sitting there. All right, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
So, what's the biggest difference for you guys working on stage and film? What do you prefer and why? Or is it a little bit of one day like?
I mean, memorizing is tough, like especially if you have like a big show, 2-hour show. You're memorizing. I did like a 2.5 hour 2-hander, so it's just me and one other guy. So you end up learning the entire play because all of your cue lines are his lines. So you have to learn his lines and your lines. So I had 2.5 hours of dialogue in my head, and it's just really stressful. Like you're going over your lines before the show, and you're just so worried that you're going to miss a line. And then also being on action and hitting all your marks and all that stuff. So I think theater is more stressful when it comes to lines, but film, if you're on like a big set and you're missing stuff and you're wasting time, it's a different stress. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. And I feel like honestly film is the end goal because that's where all the money is. You don't make any money in theater. You don't. There's
films are going down the toilet too.
Well, but I mean,
TV's where it
is.
Yeah,
it's going to go back to radio,
Netflix.
Actually, podcasts.
Probably. But I don't know. I like them both. They're very different.
Yeah, I think they're just two. They're different. They're the same, but they're different. And like in a lot of ways, I think they each have their own sort of unique challenges and stressors. And they each have sort of their unique advantages for an actor. So it's hard to weigh one over the other because they are so similar in terms of acting, in terms of like the technique and the craft of acting. There, I mean, there's no difference, but the technicality is very different. There's something I like about film about like the the immersiveness about it, and I think that's something that's always sort of like as an actor that's always sort of like drawn me to film is like, if you're in a house down the shore, that's your set. You're in a house down the shore, like you are there. You know what I mean? You don't have to. You don't have to.
But if you shoot a studio,
that's true.
Well, but even then, it's as close to it as possible. Whereas like, if your set on stage is a house down the shore, chances are it's as close to a house as a stage can make it, but it's also far more suggestive, which requires a lot more of the actor's imagination to implant the reality of it, which in itself is a cool challenge for an actor and exercises that imagination. But actually being there, you don't even have to. You're like, okay, well, I can focus somewhere else because I don't have to pretend I'm there. I don't have to sort of imagine it. I just have to be there.
Does the audience, when you do a play, do you ignore the audience? Does it disappear, or do you actually see it? Or does it change between a comedy and drama? Because you're getting feedback that's immediate from.
Audience reaction 100% like affects the performance of the show, especially in comedy, but also in drama with like, because when you get those like audible reactions if you're doing something that feels really good.
Yeah.
Whereas like in comedy, if you're able to kind of feed off the energy of the audience, then that can really kind of boost the performance, just kind of the energy in general. And I think in some elements that makes film harder because that kind of like fourth wall doesn't exist. It's just kind of like a 360 existence. And all you have is the people that you're with in that moment. You kind of have to let all of the equipment disappear.
Yeah.
Whereas, I think it's easier to pretend if you're on a set because almost everywhere you look, with the exception of the audience, like that's where you are. There's no extra people on stage that aren't in costume, and those kind of elements are out of the way in theater. Whereas even though you may be on location, there are things in your immediate view and very close to you in some elements that I think would make it harder.
I mean, theater just by its nature, if you want to get philosophical about it, is a conversation between the artist and the audience. I mean, without the audience, it's not theater, right?
Yeah.
So by its nature, because it's a shared experience amongst the artists who are telling the story and the audience members who are participating in the story, it is a shared sort of communal experience that you can't replicate anywhere else. Not even like with a live studio audience and television. It's just not the same, So I think the audience by that, I mean, depending on what you're doing, I mean, there is immediate feedback when there's audible responses or laughter or stuff like that. That definitely, affects and fuels the actors and whatever. But I think just by its nature, even if you accept the fourth wall and you block them out and you focus in on what you're doing, you can't block out the energy and the knowledge of knowing that there is a live audience right there breathing and, participating in this and some, in an observant way. So I think as an actor, there's always, on stage at least, there's always that sort of, third eye or antenna that's just slightly up and aware, of the fact that this is a communal experience among everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that, goes all the way back to the Greeks and because it was more participatory back then. So.
Imagine doing
Professor Young is done.
As a film, you don't get the feedback, so you don't know if the jokes are funny or not.
No,
you don't stand up
right
away. It's like, if they're not laughing, you're not funny.
Well, I'd say if you're doing a comedy on, a comedy film and you're on set and people are laughing, it ruins the you got to do the take again, so nobody can laugh until after the take,
So imagine that would be the hardest thing to do. I never shot on a set, but that's different. I never shot a comedy, and it's hard.
Yeah.
I would imagine if you were going to do one. Like you said, if you're laughing, you're on the take, and if you're not laughing, performers have no idea.
It doesn't feel right. Plus,
you can cut it, and then that might change it, or make it better or make it worse.
That was like Hotel when I worked on Hotel. Like there were some really legitimately funny, scenes or moments or exchanges of dialogue. And when we were on set doing it, I just thought to myself, God, I'm not funny at all. Like, this is awful. Nobody's laughing,
Yeah, you can't.
And it's just like, oh, well. And then when you go back and watch it, and then, and like to experience it like in a festival setting, when then people are laughing at the jokes, you're like, oh, okay. It was funny. Okay. I just didn't feel funny then.
Yeah, you have to wait till it's finished and to see it in theater.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So imagine now with the streaming and no one going to the movies.
There's no feedback.
Zero.
Just reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that.
So that changes that whole experience. I mean, I don't like going to festivals. I did, but it is what it is. You kind of have to, but now you can't even do that.
Nope.
So,
Yeah.
because that was the only advantage of it. Going to see it in front of the audience doesn't know you or anyone in the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get the genuine feedback if they're laughing, crying, whatever.
Yeah.
Because your friends will always gonna laugh.
Right.
Exactly.
It's not
Yeah.
like the audience will test anything out.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's Chris. He's a
Yeah.
funny guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe they'll be polite.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
Doesn't
you don't
count.
get the real feedback from people that know you. So.
Yeah.
That was only one good thing about festivals. Other than that, I just hate the crowds and everything else.
Yeah.
Going
Yeah.
in and the stupid press crap.
Yeah, it's all,
All that.
the awards.
Yeah, because those are really useful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piece of paper.
Those little
plastic.
plastic statues.
Yeah, with a little
so you can
star.
go buy it for $10.
Literally.
It's like,
Yeah.
I don't even have to make a bill to go get one of these.
Yeah.
I got one of those.
You get two of those. Don't you
Do I
have
have
two?
two? I don't know.
You get two.
To have a box of like certificates.
Yeah, yeah.
What am I doing with this crap? In
Nothing.
the fireplace.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of this? So, how do you feel about film versus theater? You agree with Chris? Or?
I would say I love theater. I think that just the feeling that you get from doing live theater, there's something about it that is just not, for me, not attainable in film as an actor. However, like, there are elements in the performance in film that you could never get in theater. I think it's kind of along the line of talking about, gaining an idea of what the audience reaction is in film. In theater, you kind of have that instant gratification of understanding and knowing what's working. And, maybe opening night, you're testing things out on an audience for the first time, and you can kind of adjust from there. Whereas film, you have X amount of takes, and the editors are going to use whatever take they feel is best. And it's kind of like a best judgment scenario versus, okay, I know that last night this worked or this didn't work, so I can adjust accordingly. And I think that just the sense of community is different in each of them. There's a lot of trust in theater between actor to actor because they're the ones that you're relying on in the scene. Whereas in film, you're relying on your scene partners, but you're also relying on the sound, the lights, the cameras, the directors. There's a lot of elements that will make that look good versus in theater, the lights have been set up, the stage is set, the costumes have been made. As long as the cues go, it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and I think also if you're going from, because for me personally, I've come from a theater background, so going from a theater background into film, you're all of a sudden, I think, very aware of very small body movements, and all of a sudden you feel like everything you do is huge because that's how it feels on camera. But so I think I definitely have a love for both, just because I have a love for acting in general. But I think that I find different elements of what I love about acting in both. That's what I would say.
But do you guys find close-ups constrictive? Like, just it's too, I guess, restrictive, whatever the word would be, confining? Oh, because it's usually a small thing, it doesn't bother you as much.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't find framing, in any way really sort of. It doesn't restrict you as an actor. It just challenges you, I think, in ways to express what you might have expressed with your full body in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on stage, that moment you might express it, with the entirety of your body or physically or something like that. And, and then the camera is highlighting that because you did that large on stage because you're trying to fill a 500 seat house and whatever. And it was a moment that you were trying to emphasize. Well, now the camera's going to emphasize it by bringing it and tightening up that whatever in a close up because that's what they want you to look at. So then you as the actor, it sort of frees you in a sense. You don't have to embody it as much as you might have. but then, it just finding a way. Is it just the lift of an eyebrow? Is it, what is it that is just in here that's going to get across whatever intention you're looking for? I don't find it super restrictive. It's just sort of like a unique, different challenge that you have to be aware of. I will say though, just in film in general, I tell students is that, like theater students, is that being on a film set or working on a film is like being perpetually in tech rehearsal. Because there's just so many other things that you as the actor is sort of the last thing on everybody's mind, right? Because everybody's concerned about, the cinema, like the DP is concerned about the shot. You have the, gaffers and people setting up lights and the director's all concerned with the sound and the lights and what the, shot looks like and the composition of everything. They don't really care about you so much. Yeah. I mean, they do, but, so it sort of becomes your job as the actor to just come in already prepared so that they don't have to worry about you and they can work on the composition of everything. So it is like being perpetually in tech rehearsal. Because in tech rehearsal, nobody gives a shit about you. Because it's all about making sure the lights are right, the cues are getting hit, everything's getting hit, and the actor's performance. Because the actor just spent 3 weeks rehearsing. Yeah. So at that point, you're kind of like, okay, well, you're fine. Now we got to focus on this.
Right, just chess pieces.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
if it's a dry tech, you're not even there. Just some ASM standing on stage for you.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's running the bigger shoots. 3 hours to set up. That's a lot of actors are just
hanging out.
Yeah. Just go to your trailer if you
running lines.
Yeah, or go back to holding or whatever,
and wait. But
and then the stand-ins come in.
Yeah, our stand-ins are really good for this shit.
Identical.
Yeah.
I don't know where you found them. Yeah.
This has to be like the lowest budget
It's awesome.
Maybe we'll break a record.
Maybe, micro. Make a micro.
$25.
Yeah. That sushi had to have been at least more than that.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest expense.
Yeah,
sushi meal.
Our last lunch.
What genres do you guys prefer, or do you enjoy a little bit of everything?
I love horror.
Horror.
I love watching horror films.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're so much fun. I think it's incredibly difficult. I think as an actor, or at least working on this, I was finding it really, really, really hard.
Which part?
Because it's
scared.
just being scared. Yeah, being scared or
being scary is fun.
Yeah,
being scared is, if you're not doing it right, it looks so disingenuous and it's just schmacking.
Yeah,
it's bad, and that's why horror movies, they're either really good or awful. There's no it was okay. It was either a good horror movie or it's a bad one, and it's all about the writing and the acting, I think. And the gore, if it's cheesy, and then you get campy, like Evil Dead, like old school Evil Dead, where it's its own.
Yeah, but I don't think they set out. They didn't.
They
set out
didn't mean to. Yeah, they tried to be.
Yeah,
I don't imagine.
I don't think that first one. I think they're trying to be scary, and it was just bad.
Evil Dead. I'm pretty sure that's Steve Raimi.
Yeah, Sam Raimi.
Same.
Yeah,
Steve Sam, but I'm pretty sure they intended to be what it is.
I don't know. I think they wanted to make a really scary movie, and then it was just kind of.
I'm sure we can look
funny, and then they went with it. Then the second and third one were just ridiculous, super.
We have to call them.
Yeah. I was like Sam.
What did you?
Hey, Sam.
But
just call any Sam.
Yeah. First Sam in my phone. I don't know. Just give me an answer. I'm not Sam Raimi. Oh, okay.
Well, if it's not what they
intended,
they went with it.
Yeah, they embraced it. You gotta embrace the camp.
You gotta go with it. I mean, that's the advantage of that genre. That if you could do a low budget horror film, we can forgive it.
Yeah.
Even certain things we have to deal with just because of what it is.
Yeah.
If it was a drama, you couldn't do it.
Mm-mm.
You couldn't get away with certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But horror, do you like horror too?
I love horror. I love drama, and I a lot of times horror will cross over into that drama genre, unless it's like a camp horror movie, kind of like a Cabin in the Woods situation where it's all right, well, clearly that was not meant to be pure terror, but yeah, I think that there's something very primal in the sense of doing a horror movie, because it's meant to trigger that internal fear in the audience that everyone has, that kind of just gut instinct of, the fight or flight. And on top of it, you have, on top of just the feeling of fear, you have to decide, kind of what else are we going to build into this? Is this going to be a really sad horror movie, or is it going to be kind of one where you're kind of rooting in the end for, destruction? So there's like kind of a dual element to it, which is really fun. But yeah, I think they're super cool.
Who do you think the audience is going to root for in this one?
I think the girls, but I feel like most. That's why I love horror movies, because a lot of the women are pretty badass, and that was from like the 70s. Even like you're rooting for the Jamie Lee Curtis, you're rooting for these strong female leads, and it's usually the one female who's surviving and running and fighting back. And I mean, now the women's movement, it's more women in like title roles, but like back in the day, it was really film that would show, leading women by themselves, and they could carry a film. I don't know. I love seeing badass girls, spooky girls, funny girls, mean girls. I love it.
Since I'm going to keep quiet on that one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything.
No, I mean, I got nothing to say.
I'll have to see the whole middle chunk of the movie and make that decision.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, he's not a likable character.
Yeah, he's awful.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of fans out of this.
It's alright.
Fan mail.
Yeah, like hate mail.
Hate mail.
Yeah.
What else? Any other impressions about it? Oh, we just finished it, literally.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it. I can't wait to.
Yeah.
I think, and music. I feel like music really makes the film spooky.
Yeah, for anyone watching or listening, we just finished it.
Last night.
Yeah.
Just grab this microphone and that was it.
Yeah.
Let's see once it's together, then. I mean, I've seen half of it.
Yeah.
Probably edited that part for the most part. This is going to make it whole. Because without that first scene, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I did show a piece though with a couple of people just, to see the reactions. But it's hard to explain it. Like, you have to set up the whole rest of the film with that first scene when you come in.
Yeah.
Without that, nothing
It's
makes
not
sense.
even, it's just a bad,
It's
a bad relationship.
Yeah. And I think when we have that dinner scene and that first, then it's going to make more sense.
A little more. Something's wrong. She's fine. She's fine. She's totally just super normal.
It's fine. It's just a lovely weekend getaway.
It's a rom-com.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we can wrap this up. I don't know. It's kind of still fresh. It's hard to talk about something.
Yeah, it's hard to process. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the time to.
And I forget.
I
I have forgotten what we filmed.
I legit just do not remember. I like in my mind, I can see like snapshots of moments that like, oh yeah, that's like coming down the stairs at one point. I remember coming down the stairs. I don't remember what for, and then like sitting on that couch over there, and then I remember parts of the what was it, breakfast? I think it was
we had a breakfast scene. We had a dinner scene.
That's about it.
So what happens to? I mean, because
at some point,
one thing that I don't think I can remember like 2-hour play. Like, I mean, I never tried it, but I would imagine like I barely remember my name. So trying to go through like 2 hours of text and actually remember every part of it. Now, do you delete that out of your internal memory so you put more stuff in?
I mean, I still have some Dracula lines.
Yeah.
I still have certain monologues, but if I reread the play, I'd be like, did I ever say that line? Because I don't ever remember saying that line. Like, it's just like moments, but then some of it comes back, like you have the whole thing. Like, it's weird.
Yeah. I think you kind of hold on to some of it. Like there's just like, I guess like with anything, like just in life, certain things will just stick with you, and when when it comes to plays or memorizing lines, I think there's just certain lines from shows that for whatever reason just stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think eventually over time, maybe you start to, they start to get a little hazy, or you start to, well, how did that line go? I kind of remember it, but I don't quite remember how it goes. But then, I think if you were to go back and then look at something that you previously done, it's way easier to
pick back up.
Well, I mean, I did Hamlet twice. So
Yeah.
the first time I did it, I was like 20. I had no business doing it. I was like 21
12.
or something. Yeah, I was 14 years old, and I just started undergrad, I think, or I was like in the middle of undergrad, and I did it, and then my second summer in grad school, I did it again, and the cut was different. They cut the script differently, because if you don't cut it, it's like
it's like 4
it's like 4 hours long. So
it's
a
4 hours long.
Yeah. They chronicle his whole journey as a pirate, but they don't. But there's more about it. And then so when there were certain speeches. I mean, there's certain iconic speeches that you still,
everybody knows a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, this too solid flesh with mouth, whatever. But so there were certain iconic speeches in there that I was like, oh yeah, I don't need to relook at these, because I just need to make sure that the cut is the same,
right?
The
off screen.
Yeah. But it took me a lot. It was a lot easier for me to rememorize, because I had already. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember this here. Okay, yeah. I remember how this goes. And you sort of filter it all together, and that's just because it didn't quite ever leave.
Yeah.
But it just I wish it were that easy that you could just delete, and then there's some shows that I wish I could just delete out of memory altogether.
I'm sure Tesla's coming up with something like
that.
That's right. They have no interest in memorizing anything, just pop a chip.
I wish.
Forgot everything. That'll be scary.
Well, now sometimes they wear
oh my god,
older actors on Broadway, they wear earpieces.
Mm-hmm.
De Niro did that for
I think
something.
Angela Lansbury too.
Yeah,
Fiji
she's 95. I don't blame her.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Not De Niro, Pacino. Not De Niro.
Yeah, Pacino. He did like a one-man show. Really?
Because he was just refusing to learn lines. Just decided he's not.
Yeah, it's the bare minimum. That's like the bare minimum.
But I think he hated the business so much. He was just taking the money, but he just didn't care.
Didn't do commercials, man.
Well, when you're Marlon Brando, you can do whatever you want, I guess. At that time,
he could show up obese for Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I demand only close-ups. Great. Crazy. So I don't know what else can we say about this.
How do you feel about it?
I don't know. With me, every time I shoot something, I kind of have an idea what it's supposed to be, but that's never what it ends up being, because you start changing it. So that's why early this morning I was looking at all the footage, just making sure that stuff's in focus, stuff like that. And then you can tell a good take, obviously, from the one that doesn't work. So let's say you have 1 or 2, and then in editing you decide, because sometimes it's not the best take for the scene by itself. It might look good.
Yeah.
But then you put it together with other stuff, and that's not the best take for that scene. So you switch them out. So as long as you have 2 or 3 that work,
pick through.
then you have something to play with. But it's hard to. I mean, you can try to visualize scenes, right? But to run the whole movie. And how it's going to play, you just gotta get playing and editing and mess around with it. So, I think once you put it together, we'll see what it is.
Yeah. And you're going to edit it?
Yeah, this is the crew. Right?
This
is everything. Catering, craft service, wardrobe, lighting, camera work, maintenance,
hotel
security.
Security. He's got the key.
This is
social media marketing.
Student films have a bigger crew.
Literally. Oh yeah. Bigger budgets too.
This is a COVID crew.
C19 Productions.
This is it.
It's awesome.
Beyond bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should challenge people. Like, can you make a movie, a
Well,
full
that's what I
feature
was-
for under
It
$1,000?
was a joke. It was saying how the Lars von Trier had that Dogma 95, whatever it was, 97, I don't remember, it was 95. And it was I think it was a joke. It had to be a joke. And people fell for it, started making films like that. No tripod, only natural light, only outside. Because he had no money.
Yeah.
Right.
And even Spielberg was like, oh, maybe I should make a Dogma film. And
It's like it's a
I
joke,
think it's a
dum-dum.
joke. I don't think this is, and of course, after he got money, it's not doing that.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like
no.
we can call this as COVID-19 production. And if you want to make a COVID film,
All
Yeah.
non-union.
All non-union.
Yeah.
can't spend more than $25.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, $1,000. We spent less than $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
$500.
I think with food and a couple of props. Maybe
$400.
probably less than that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
right. Because you had the equipment.
Yeah, no, I didn't need to get any of that.
Listen.
So really, what do we have? A few breakfasts and
Yeah.
few lunches. And
Yeah.
So it's probably less than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's as close to zero as you can.
Yeah.
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 Should do a Kickstarter and then just
Yeah,
give
just
the
take
money.
the money. We need 20 grand for this movie.
Yeah, reimburse.
That's right. Well, the funny thing is with equipment today, I mean, obviously, if you want to do something more ambitious, you're going to need you need crew for the time. I mean, yeah, I can set up everything in the bigger, but you'd be waiting for hours.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be driving myself crazy.
Yeah.
doing all
Yeah,
this stuff. So
yeah.
it's really for the reason why it's so simple is the schemes are simple. It's just lighting, just because it's me with a couple of lights.
Yeah.
But
And then you didn't have to spend money on locations. Like this is the location that you got for free.
Yeah,
like
so-
even just getting locations is
well, not alone.
$1,000.
Yeah, sure.
You know, just to rent a school.
Yeah. Well, but once you start spending money, then you just keep spending money.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I think when you if you want to make a low budget film, you either make it for nothing, or you better have some
30
money.
grand.
Because there's no in between.
Yeah.
Because once you start paying for one thing, it becomes like, well, if you're paying for that, how come I'm not getting paid?
Yeah.
And it
Right,
becomes like,
yeah,
how come-
yeah.
So I think the easiest thing to do is just get a few people who are willing to do it.
Yeah. Donate their time.
Yeah. Find the location that you have for free.
Yeah.
Well, so like, what's his name? Robert Rodriguez did that 10-minute film school or something that he did after El Mariachi, put it on the line. He used to do seminars or something. But his whole thing was like he made a list of everything he had available for nothing. Like my cousin did this, my family owns this, and I have a brother and sister or whatever, and just make a list of everything you have,
And then write
and
a
then
script.
write a script for
on
that,
that.
Interesting.
and use stuff that you have for free, and that's how I made this film. Like, and that, he shot a film for it. I think it was $4,000 or something.
Woo.
So it was just 16, shooting really quick.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
yeah, that's on YouTube now. Anyone can see that one.
Hmm.
It's 10-minute film school from back in whatever it was, 90 something.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. There's nothing in between. Well, same as your wedding planning, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
either
You can go,
elope
like,
yeah.
for
really,
$50
yeah.
or
well, it's same
You're
thing
spending
inviting
30
people.
grand.
You can invite 20 or 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing in between. Yeah.
Because you have the immediate family. If you go one step up,
It's everyone.
It's everyone.
quadruples. It's like, there's no way to go right with
Yeah.
the middle.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're trying.
Well, thank you very much,
Yeah.
everyone, for. Let's see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Curious.
Please don't ask, call us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, let's shut this off.
We did it. Crazy.